This year we saw a big, highly anticipated summer blockbuster release in cinemas. It was a superhero movie, one starring a controversial individual, as well as a returning icon. I'm of course talking about The Flash. The Flash was one of the biggest, most anticipated superhero movies ever made, and yet it bombed at the box office. Why is that? I thought people wanted to see this movie. I thought Michael Keaton returning as Batman would be a big draw. It turns out it wasn't, and now it's time to put on my speculation cap and make some big assumptions about why it bombed and if it will ever be deemed a success. First up, let's talk numbers, a subject I really don't like because, well, maths. In short, the general rule is that for a film to be considered a success, especially one of this scale and scope, it has to make 3 times the amount it costs to make. That allows all the people involved to get paid. All the marketing department, the distributors, the cast, the crew, the producers, merchandisers and so on. A lot of people are involved in making and releasing a movie, and it takes more than the initial budget to make sure they get some sort of payment for it. And as it turns out, a lot of them aren't getting that payment. The Flash reportedly cost somewhere between $200 million and $220 million to make. For the sake of simplicity, I'll say it cost $200. As of writing this script on July 12, 2023, it has currently earned a total of $262 million worldwide. So, simplifying it again, it has only earned a little over its budget, which, if my shoddy maths is correct, is nowhere near 3 times as much as it needed to earn. To be considered a success, The Flash has to earn at least $800 million, or as close to $1 billion as it possibly can. That looks very unlikely. In its opening weekend, it earned $55 million domestically. That's a little over half of its total earnings thus far, which means it had a major drop in income in the following weeks. People stopped seeing it, or they just didn't bother seeing it. Can it ever make its money? That's the big question here. In short, it looks unlikely, at least on a timescale that matters to Warner Bros. Discovery. Once it hits home video and streaming services, which it has now, it might see a bit of an increase. But as COVID proved, movies do not make that much money on home video alone. In years to come, it could probably get its money back, but by then, will anyone care? So, it failed. Now we have to ask why. Ezra Miller is the first possibility. Ezra, if you didn't know, is a controversial individual. In the eyes of many, they are a criminal who ought to be in prison. To some, they are in need of some help from mental health professions. So, are people not seeing this movie because of Ezra's controversy? Possibly, but I doubt it. Why do I doubt it? The larger audience doesn't care or know about controversy. If there's something they want to watch or see, they'll watch or see it regardless. Look at the success of the video game Hogwarts Legacy, the best-selling game of the year thus far. People flocked to play that game despite the controversy surrounding J.K. Rowling. Obviously, that's a game though, so it's not apples to apples, oranges to bananas, whatever that metaphor is, but it does demonstrate a point. People do not care. Next possibility, the DCU. The Flash is one of the final movies in the DC EU, a franchise many people do not like. Fans of Zack Snyder might be against this movie, believing it's not what Snyder envisioned, and as a means of boycotting the incoming James Gunn and what his plans are going to be. It could also be that people have just gone off DC because of its struggling movies and larger universe. The quality just isn't there. More significantly, it could be that people know that as of this iteration of the franchise's closing, a new one is approaching. Why should they care about this one then? So, they didn't bother saying it. The next possibility are the reviews. The initial reviews of The Flash were pretty positive, with some calling it one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. That's high praise. Then the film started to reach a larger audience, and the reviews steadily got less and less positive. Criticism was aimed at the CGI and the special effects, as well as the third act. Coincidentally, you can watch my review of the movie on this very channel. if you want, and we know you do. These reviews, while not negative by any means, were probably not what people wanted the film to be. So, they might not have bothered saying it. The final excuse that I can come up with right now is HBO Max, now known as Max. Someday, The Flash will be on that streaming service. Here in the UK, it'll probably be on Sky. That means if you wait long enough, you can watch it at home as part of your subscription. A subscription you probably forgot you had, and therefore seems a little like it's free. Why pay a ton of money to watch a movie when you can wait and watch it for nothing? The weirdest thing about all of this is that it's the return of Michael Keaton as Batman. Batman, who is an icon, hugely popular and considered one of the best superheroes ever. Yet people aren't flocking to see this big return. Why? Maybe the fans of Keaton's Batman are in fact a niche group, not as big as we all thought. Maybe people just don't care. Maybe they don't see this as the same thing because it's not actually Tim Burton's Batman, but an alternate version of that Batman. A lot of speculation there. The big reason is that this year is a big one for movies. There's a lot of competition. At the time of release, Fast 10 and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse were in cinemas. Fast 10 wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it has a huge fan base, so people flocked to see it. Spider-Man, meanwhile, was fantastic, and is also a multiverse superhero movie. If you had a choice between The Flash, a live-action multiverse superhero film that's okay to good, or watching a genuinely fantastic multiverse superhero movie that does some very impressive and creative things, well, you go see Spider-Man, don't you? After The Flash was released, we also saw more competition come out. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which also failed to earn its money back, and now Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 has came out. There's also Oppenheimer and Barbie. It's too early to say how well all of those will do in the long run, but there's also just a lot going on right now, and some of them are doing quite well. It's a highly competitive time for movies right now. Even if all these movies were great, even if people really wanted to see The Flash, most of them would have to pick and choose because of the cost involved. Not everyone is able to see every single film released. So, a film that doesn't get as good reviews as people wanted or expected might suffer in favour of those that did review well. The bottom line is that The Flash did not do very well in the cinemas, regardless of how good the film is. I think the big reason is the competition that's surrounding it, but the state of the franchise, the controversy of Ezra Miller, and the inevitable possibility of seeing it for free in the future really impacted its chances of success. Let me know what you think happened to The Flash and its chances of success in the comments and feedback down below. Like this video, subscribe to this channel and follow me on Twitter and Threads at _Grant Burton. Until next time though, thanks for watching.